In fully automatic washing machine, we have to check the symptoms of water intake does not stop. We will going to cover the feedback from the customers, questions to be asked from the customers, dot matrix for the symptoms, possible type of failures, electrical, electronic, mechanical, use and surrounding conditions, steps for diagnosis process, repairing process for the defect. Customers' feedback is water intake does not stop, continuous water coming in the machine. So the questions which we asked you to the symptoms, is there any light blinking patterns when water is not getting stopped? To understand the errors, does water intake not stop and wash program starts? To understand either the problem is with intake valve or with the PCB. Does spin works? To understand water level sensor and drain motors works okay and there is a defect either in the PCB or in the intake valve. Is there any repair has been done earlier? To understand is there any error because of the workmanship. The dot matrix related to the defects are intake valve faulty, water level sensor faulty, leakage or dislocate the air tubes, PCB defective, loose connection. Possibilities of failures: intake valve plunger defective is under the electrical type of defect, PCB connectors loose wires cut, water level sensor defectives under the electronic type of defect, leakage or choke in the air tube is a mechanical type of defect. Which some of the parameters we will check. In case of intake valve, we have to check the plunger stuck in an open condition. In that case, we have to replace the intake valve. And then we have to check the water level sensor. We have to check the water level and its related frequency. And if it is okay, we have to check the air tubes. We check the air tubes for any air leakage or puncturing in the air tube. We have to replace it or repair it if possible. Then we check the PCB continuity outputs to the intake valve. In case there is no output to the intake valve, then we have to replace the PCB. The tools which is required for this testing is plier, screwdriver set, and a digital clamp. We have to check the socket. Voltage between the neutral and phase is 230 volts. Voltage between phase and earth is 230. Voltage between neutral and earth is 0 to 2 volts. In case of intake valve defect faulty, we have to check the dirt collected in the intake valve which led to the plunger open even after no supply from the PCB. Due to the plunger defect, continuous water supply is there in the washer. No water when there is no supply on intake valve. Coil gets energized with 230 volt AC supply. Plunger pull up by the magnetic field generated by the coil. Water flows out. When 230 volt supply comes from the PCB, water comes out. This is a situation where the dirt coagulate under the plunger, due to which even after no supply from the PCB, plunger remains open and the water flow inside the tub. In such case, dismantle the intake valve, clean and assemble it again. Even though the intake valve is not powered, the water still comes from the intake valve. This is due to the defective plunger or any foreign particle stuck below the plunger. In such cases, we have to replace the intake valve. In such cases, machine gets started and the water continuously come inside the tub. Yeah, a small video for the ready reference. We have to check the resistance values of the intake valve. We have to check while Supply is off condition. If the water comes, then we have to replace the intake valve. Resistance values can vary. It ranges from 4 kilo ohms to 6 kilo ohms. Water level sensor faulty. We have to check for the frequency of the water level sensor with respect to the rising water levels in the tub. If proper frequency range does not come, the sensor. We have to set the multimeter of the frequency and check the frequency of the sensor at the empty tub and at the highest level. If the frequency does not come as per the data, then we have to change the water level sensor. We have to set the multimeter knob in the frequency or hertz and measures at brown and yellow wire. The frequency of the water level sensor at no water is 25 kilohertz. Frequency of the water level sensor at high level of water fill is approximately 21.7 kilohertz. Check the frequency at high level of water. If the sensor is not giving proper frequency, then we have to change the sensor and check it again. If the water intake does not stop, there's some modification which has been recommended. We have to change the PCB version from 8 to 9. Frequency sensing optimized for higher water level. In case of leakage or puncture in the air tube, as water level increasing in the tube, it increases the air pressure in the tub. If the tub is broken or dislocated, the pressure sensor won't be able to sense the pressure. So we have to visually inspect, check the air hose tube. If dislocated or leakage, we have to refit the air hose tube and tighten properly. After that, start the machines again. If the air hose tube is broken, then we have to replace the air hose tube. We have to check the air hose tube for any kind of bends or dirt coagulations. Open the air hose tube and clean the air hose tubes or replace with a new one. In case of PCB defective, we have to check supply on the water level sensor connector. If sensor is giving proper frequency, then we have to check the supply on the intake valve. At the maximum level of water, PCB should cut the supply to the intake valve so that the water intake stop. If continuous supply is going on from the PCB, we have to replace the PCB. At water level sensor, the yellow and black wires, where we at the pin number 8 and 5, we get 5 volt DC. Intake valve, we have a light this blue color and a gray color, where 220 to 240 volt AC is available. If these values does not comes, we means PCB is defective and we have to replace it. Water level sensor, yellow and black wire. Yellow is positive, black is negative. At terminal 3 and 1 is we get 5 volt DC. This is for testing a LR non-heater PCB. In case the inlet valve, we have a pink and red wire which have 220 to 240 volt AC. In case of LR washing machine with heater facility, the intake valve sensor yellow and black wire 3 and 1 terminal 5 volt DC. Intake valve pink and red 240 volt AC. For testing the intake valve in WT ion PF model, gray and blue wires at 8 pin connector, we get 220 volt to 240 volt AC. At water level sensor, we get at yellow and black wire 5 volt DC. WT ion PFD model at 8 pin connector, again the same intake valve, gray and blue wire 220 to 240 volt AC, and at water level sensor, yellow and black wire at 5 volt. Intake valve at 8 pin connector in the model WT ion PFH 220 volts AC supply, and at water level sensor, yellow and black wire. Yellow is positive, black is negative, 5 volt DC. In case of WT ion PHU Usonic model, the intake valve is an 8-pin connector. We get the gray and blue wire for 220 to 40 volt AC. For water level sensor, it's yellow and black wire, 5 volt DC. In case of FDC, FDH and FDHP old models, the interval is a gray and blue connectors, 220 volt AC. For in case of cold water, in case of hot, we get a gray and a pink wires, 220 volt to 240 volt AC during intake of water, that is cold or hot respectively. Water level sensor for 4-pin connector, yellow and black wire, it is 5 volt DC. Then a similar fashion for FC, CF and FH. In case of PCB defective, after changing the PCB or replacing any electronic component, we have to do the calibration. In case of Orega washing machine, we have to press start and pause button and a power button together for diagnosis and calibration. For calibration in Odra and Allure washing machine, we have to press program start and pause and power button together. In case of Allure washing machine, we have to press start key, power key simultaneously for 2 seconds. Then machine will enter into the line testing mode then. In case of fuzzy logic washing machine, this WTE on PF model, first of all we have to switch on the washing machine by pressing the power on button. Simultaneously, we have to press left arrow and top arrow key for 3 seconds. The washing machine will do the calibration automatically within a few minutes. Calibration should be done without water and clothes in the tub. In case of washing machine WTE on PFD, we have to switch on the washing machine by pressing the power button. Simultaneously press left arrow and top arrow keys for 3 seconds. The washing machine will do the calibration automatically within few minutes. Calibration should be done without water and clothes in the tub. For the PHU model, same process we have to adopt. In case of we have to do calibration in FDC, FDH and FDHP model. We have to switch off the machine first. While pressing the rinse key, we have to switch on the machine with the machine on off switch. Display will show LT00. We have to keep on pressing rinse key to select the required look by the table. Set LT00 or L for Lockheed's or LT01 for S for swastik motors. To set that the table, press start hold key. Machine will display done and come out of the calibration mode with the default cycle. In a similar fashion, we have to do the calibration for FC, CF and FH model. Thank you.